What is the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you? I ran cross country in high school. I would lead stretches, meaning that both the boys and girls teams were circled around me. A buddy came up and de-pantsed me and grabbed too many layers. At least the girls team got the rear end and the guys got the front. I don't think I've ever been truly embarrassed since. I had the Bacchanal buffet at Caesars on my last day in Vegas on one of my yearly trips. I was fine until I got on the plane. I had to shit so bad, and it was going to be diarrhea. However, we were racing a storm, so the flight attendants asked everyone to remain seated so we could leave. I begrudgingly agreed with my insides on fire 25 minutes after sitting waiting to take off. They announced we'd have to taxi back and go from the opposite direction for a wind shift. It was another 30-minute delay. Then we finally get into the air and fly right into the storm. It was turbulent and would last another 10 minutes. The seatbelt sign was on, but I couldn't ignore it anymore. Finally went to go shit. I exploded as soon as I got in there. Everyone in the back of the plane could smell it when I opened the door. One guy even called me out on it. Oh well, my fault for eating oysters on a buffet. Easily the time I was breakdancing in drama class in grade 11 and kicked a girl in the face. No idea if this is also the case in other countries, but here all shopping carts require a 50 cent or €1 coin to be put in for use. As a kid, whenever I would go shopping with my mom I would return strayed or lost carts and keep the coin. One day I was with my mom in a huge hardware store. I saw a cart in the store filled with all kinds of stuff. But my kid logic told me, OWH it's probably from an employee restocking stuff. They wouldn't mind if I were to take it right. So here I'm emptying that cart. Clanks, cans the whole lot. I return the cart, collect the 50 cents, and go to the kid corner to watch some TV or something. Here comes an employee joined by a very displeased older lady. She starts screaming at me, borderline crying about how mean I'm and anything. Then she walks away. I did not dare to go into that store for years after in fear of her or the employee recognizing me. I was in high school and we had a prize giving ceremony during school assembly. My name gets unexpectedly called out, so I make my way to the front of the hall to collect my prize. I'm almost at the front when I have a sudden crisis of confidence and think that I must have misheard them and there is no way they called my name. So I turn around, walk back to my chair and sit back down. My friends are looking at me and ask me what the hell I'm doing and tell me to get back up there to collect my prize. So I get back up, walk all the way up to the front, and then have another crisis of confidence and think that my friends must have been messing with me. So I turn around and walk back to my chair and sit back down. The hall is silent and the teachers are on stage looking at me like I just landed from another planet. In high school I was having these messed up periods that were extremely heavy to the point that blood kept leaking constantly. I was in English class and something felt wrong, and I noticed a puddle of period blood underneath my chair. Then my English teacher called my name to go up and grab my assignment. Thankfully my friend went up and got it for me and also walked behind me to the bathroom. In 8th grade I had a teacher, Mr. Jane. He was 6'3", had to be over 400 pounds, and had a lazy eye. Mr. Jane was known for having bottles and bottles of Febreze in his room. Whenever he would smell a student stinking he would stand up out of his chair, go from aisle to aisle sniffing kids, and spraying a cloud of mist over the kid that thought he smelled foul. I had forgot to wear deodorant one day, and I was lucky enough to be reined in the freshness. I was working at a skating rink as a DJ, and used to throw on my skates to mingle with customers. One of my skate moves was to drop down into the splits and pull myself back up like this scene Michael Jackson's Bad Music video. One evening a regular ingrat child asked me to do the splits. I obliged him, dropped down into the splits position. However, this time I didn't come back. Fast forward to having my pants cut off by EMT and being given morphine on the skate floor while customers continued to skate before being taken to the hospital. I had dislocated my patella. The story doesn't stop there, because the skating rink's GM stopped into the hospital to check on me, and I found it slightly odd that he rotated awkwardly from across the open space in the room to around the bed, cutting through the medical machines, almost knocking them over, and cables to stand against the gap in the wall to talk to me by my head. Being doped up, I did not realize at the time that my patient gown was thrown open and he saw all of my business. TLDR, I did the splits on purpose on roller skates and dislocated my kneecap while on the clock. Boss might have seen my junk. I was waiting for a friend to arrive at my home. Said friend was having a severe cold, so when the doorbell rang, I ran to open the door and jokingly pulled my shirt up so it would cover my nose and mouth to prevent infection. I pulled a little too high. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how I opened the door to a baffled salesman with my boobs hanging out. He blushed. I blushed. We stared at each other for a second before I closed the door and hid in the darkest corner of my house. It was the first time I got my period. I was embarrassed to have my period at the time, so I didn't tell my mom. BTW, I'm in the 7th grade, so I have no idea how to deal with it, right? I get up to go to school and put on my uniform. The pants were khakis, so basically right away I was doomed. I get to school right, I'm in first period and it's bleeding through as I'm sitting in a chair. So I got up to turn my paper in and people are staring at me with that face like what the hell. So I sit down and my friend, who was thankfully in the class, goes, girl, you're leaking. I'm over here like WTF, do I look like a faucet? So then she leans in closer to my ear and goes, you bled through your pants. I turn bright pink and I raise my hand and ask to go to the nurse, and if you thought this was bad, trust me, it gets worse. As I'm walking through the hallway, the class bell rings, so now everybody is walking throughout the hall and they can all see that my pants are bright red. Just to make it worse, some stupid annoying kid comes up and frickin' screams, look, it's a babunya. I couldn't live that nickname down for the rest of the year. When I was 26 or so, my brother and I planned to meet up with my dad at a high school basketball game once. Showed up, saw my dad in his familiar spot, standing along the railing, looking down on the court from above. Even when facing away, dude's easy to pick out of a linoop on account of his signature olive green winter coat, faded blue jeans, and Air Monarchs. Thought I'd mess with him by going up and just standing uncomfortably close to his body until he noticed my presence. He gets locked into basketball, so he didn't acknowledge me at first, so I got ever closer. He finally turned around. Wasn't my dad. I looked 15 feet to my left, where my dad and brother looked on, bemused, befuddled, and disappointed. Began apologizing profusely to the stranger I'd accosted, but couldn't string words together well, so I just began pointing at him, and then at my dad and then back. Graciously, the stranger in question acknowledged that he and my father were wearing the same dad uniform, and he smiled and nodded his head in understanding, which only made things slightly less embarrassing. Please like and subscribe for more content in the future. This is a small channel, so every person subscribed helps. Put ideas in the comments for what you want in future videos, or ways to improve the quality.